My perfect older sister was marrying the man of her dreams, and he made my life hell. Every family gathering, he mocked my weight, my failed business, my tiny apartment. The worst part? Claire never defended me. She'd laugh awkwardly or tell me privately to not be so sensitive. At their rehearsal dinner, he called me a failure in front of 50 people. I stood to leave, heartbroken that my sister had chosen him over me. Then Claire's voice cut through the room. "Sit down, Rachel. I've been waiting for this moment." Before we dive in, I'm curious, do you have any siblings? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you love stories about sisterhood and standing up to people, please subscribe so you don't miss our next one. Now let me take you back to the night everything changed. I've spent my entire life being compared to my older sister Claire, and I've spent my entire life coming up short. Claire is 4 years older than me, and from the moment she could walk, she was exceptional at everything. Straight A's throughout school, captain of the debate team, full scholarship to Yale Law School, associate at a prestigious firm in Manhattan by 27. She's beautiful in that effortless way some women are. Tall, naturally thin, with the kind of bone structure that photographs well. I, on the other hand, am Rachel, the shorter sister, the curvier sister, the one who went to state school, got a teaching degree, and now works with first graders for $45,000 a year. The one whose small business, a tutoring service I'd tried to launch 2 years ago, had failed after 8 months. The one still living in a studio apartment in Queens at 28, while Claire has a 2-bedroom in Manhattan and a wardrobe full of designer suits. Don't get me wrong, I love my sister, and for most of our lives, she'd been my champion, my protector, my best friend. When kids made fun of me in middle school for being the fat sister, Claire had shut them down with a verbal precision that left them speechless. When I'd struggled through college, Claire had tutored me through my hardest classes. When my tutoring business failed, Claire had been the one to hold me while I cried and tell me that failure was just a step towards success. But then Claire met Derek Warrison, and everything changed. Derek was a finance executive at an investment firm, handsome in that generic Wall Street way. Expensive suits, perfect teeth, hair always styled just right. He was charming, successful, and from the moment Claire introduced him to the family 18 months ago, our parents loved him. Finally, my mother had said to me at that first family dinner, Claire found someone worthy of her. The implication was clear. Someone as exceptional as Claire deserved someone equally exceptional. Someone like Derek, not someone like the men I'd dated. The struggling artists and graduate students my mother found perpetually disappointing. At first, Derek seemed nice enough. He complimented my mother's cooking, asked my father about his work, and said all the right things about Claire's career. But there was something about the way he looked at me, a kind of amused condescension, like he found my existence slightly ridiculous. The first joke came during dessert at that initial family dinner. "So, Rachel," Derek said, smiling in a way that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Claire tells me you're a teacher. That's nice. I always say those who can't do, right? No offense." The table had gone quiet for a moment. I'd felt my face flush. "Rachel is an excellent teacher," Claire had said, but her tone was light, almost laughing. "She's wonderful with kids." "I'm sure she is. It's a noble profession. Not particularly lucrative, but noble." My father had changed the subject, and the evening had moved on, but I'd felt the sting of that comment for days afterward. Over the following months, as Claire and Derek's relationship grew serious, the jokes continued and escalated. At Claire's birthday dinner, Derek had announced to the table, "You know what's funny? Claire is so beautiful, elegant, successful, a perfect woman. That's because her parents used all the best ingredients for her, and in the end, there was nothing left for the second kid. No offense, Rachel." At Claire's engagement party 6 months ago, Derek had made a toast that included, "I'm gaining a wife and a sister-in-law." Though I have to say, the genetic lottery definitely favored one sister over the other. But hey, that's life, right, Rachel? Each time, I'd looked at Claire, waiting for her to defend me, to tell Derek his jokes weren't funny, but she never did. She'd laugh awkwardly or wince slightly or quickly change the subject. Once, when I'd pulled her aside at that engagement party and told her Derek's comments hurt my feelings, she'd sighed. "Rachel, he's just joking. He has that kind of humor, roasting people. He does it to his friends all the time. It's how he shows affection. It doesn't feel affectionate. It feels cruel. You're being too sensitive. Derek doesn't mean anything by it. Please, can you try to get along with him? For me, he's going to be family. Why does getting along mean I have to let him insult me? He's not insulting you. He's just teasing. Can you please not make this harder than it needs to be? Planning this wedding is stressful enough without you creating drama with my fiancé. I'd walked away from that conversation feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. My sister, my champion, my protector, was choosing her fiancé over me. She was prioritizing his feelings over mine. She was asking me to just accept being the butt of his jokes because it was easier than confronting him. The wedding preparations were torture. I was a bridesmaid, which meant I was involved in every event, every planning session, every family gathering. And Derek was always there, always ready with another cutting comment disguised as humor. At the bridesmaid's dress fitting, he'd shown up with Claire and immediately zeroed in on me. Wow, Rachel, that's a lot of fabric. Good thing Claire's parents are paying for this wedding, right? Your dress probably cost twice as much as everyone else's just in material. The other bridesmaids, Claire's law school friends, had laughed nervously. I'd stood there in front of the three-way mirror, looking at my reflection in the pale blue dress, feeling like I wanted to disappear. Claire had been on her phone, distracted by a work call. When she'd looked up and seen my face, she'd just said, "Derek, stop," but in a tone that suggested she found his comment more amusing than offensive. At the venue tasting, Derek had made jokes about me eating too many of the sample appetizers. At the rehearsal walkthrough, he'd commented on how I'd probably catch the bouquet since no one else is desperate enough to fight for it. Each time, Claire's response was the same: a weak, Derek, stop, followed by a subject change. I'd tried talking to her again, multiple times. Each conversation went the same way. Rachel, you're taking things too personally. Rachel, every couple has quirks. Derek's that's his sense of humor. The message was clear. I was the problem. My sensitivity was the issue, not Derek's cruelty. And if I really loved my sister, I'd just shut up and take it for the sake of her happiness. So I did. I stopped complaining. I smiled through the jokes. I swallowed my hurt feelings. And I felt my relationship with my sister dying a little more each day. The rehearsal dinner was held at an upscale restaurant in Manhattan, 2 nights before the wedding. 50 guests, family, wedding party, and close friends. I'd worn my nicest dress, done my makeup carefully, tried to prepare myself for whatever cutting remarks Derek would make. The evening started well enough. The food was excellent. People were happy and celebratory. Claire looked beautiful, radiant in the way brides-to-be are supposed to look. For a moment, I let myself hope that maybe tonight Derek would behave. Maybe, surrounded by both families, he'd keep his comments to himself. I should have known better. After dinner, Derek stood to give a toast. He thanked his parents, thanked Claire's parents, made jokes about married life that had everyone laughing. Then he got to the wedding party. "I want to thank my groomsmen," he said, gesturing to the row of men in expensive suits. "My brothers from other mothers, the best friends a guy could ask for." Then he turned to the bridesmaids' table. And of course, I have to thank Claire's bridesmaids, these amazing women who've supported her through law school, through her career, through the chaos of wedding planning. I'm gaining not just a wife, but a whole new family of accomplished, successful, brilliant women. He paused, his eyes landing on me. And then there's my future sister-in-law, Rachel. The room's energy shifted slightly. I felt my stomach clench. Rachel is special. While Claire was building a legal career that's taken her to the top of her field, Rachel has been teaching finger painting to 6-year-olds. While Claire bought an apartment in Manhattan, Rachel's been enjoying the cozy charm of a rental studio in Queens. While Claire built a successful career, Rachel tried to start a tutoring business that folded faster than origami. There were a few uncomfortable laughs from his groomsmen. Most of the room was silent, sensing that this had crossed a line from playful roasting into something darker. But hey, Derek continued, his smile wide and cruel. Every family needs someone to be the cautionary tale, right? The example of what happens when you don't apply yourself. Rachel's biggest accomplishment at 28 is, well, I guess just making it to 28. But someone has to be the family disappointment. Keeps the rest of us humble. So here's to Rachel, proof that success isn't genetic. He raised his glass. A few people, his groomsmen mostly, raised theirs half-heartedly. Most people just sat in stunned silence. I felt like I'd been slapped. My face was burning. Tears were building behind my eyes and my hands were shaking in my lap. I looked at Claire, sitting next to Derek at the head table. She was staring at her plate, her expression unreadable. Not defending me, not standing up for me, just sitting there. That was the moment something in me broke. I'd endured months of Derek's cruelty. I'd swallowed my hurt for the sake of my sister's happiness. I'd let her choose him over me again and again. But this, being publicly humiliated at her rehearsal dinner while she sat in silence, this was too much. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. Tears were streaming down my face now, and I didn't care who saw. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door, needing to get out of that room, away from those pitying stares, away from my sister who just watched the man she loved destroy me and done nothing. I was almost to the exit when Claire's voice cut through the silence. "Sit down, Rachel." Her tone was cold, commanding, not the apologetic, pleading tone I might have expected if she was about to defend me. I turned around, confused. Claire was standing now. She was looking at Derek, not at me, and her expression was unlike anything I'd ever seen on her face. It was fury, but controlled, calculated, the expression of a prosecutor who'd just gotten the confession she needed. "I've been waiting for this," she said. The room went dead silent. Derek looked confused. "Babe, what?" "I've been waiting for months," Claire continued, her voice cutting and clear, "for you to show everyone who you really are, for you to feel safe enough, comfortable enough, confident enough in my devotion to reveal your true character. And you just did. Thank you for that." Derek's face went from confused to nervous. "Claire, what are you talking about? I was just joking." "You were just joking," Claire repeated, her voice dripping with contempt. "That's what you always say. That's what you said after you made fun of Rachel's weight at your office Christmas party. That's what you said after you mocked her failed business at our engagement party. That's what you said every single time you've spent the last 18 months systematically trying to make my sister feel worthless." She pulled out her phone. "I documented it all, Derek. Every cruel comment, every joke designed to tear her down. I have voice recordings. I have texts. I have witnesses." She held up her phone. "Would you like to hear some of your greatest hits? Because I made a little compilation for tonight." Derek's face went white. You've been recording me?" "I've been gathering evidence," Claire corrected, "like the lawyer I am. Because about 6 months into our relationship, I started seeing signs of who you really were. The way you talked about your coworkers, the way you treated waiters, the subtle ways you tried to isolate me from my friends. But I was too deep. I'd already introduced you to everyone. My parents loved you. I'd already said yes to your proposal." Her voice cracked slightly, but she pushed on. "And I wanted to believe I was wrong. I wanted to believe you'd change, that you'd show remorse, that the man I'd fallen in love with was real and not just a mask you wore. So I gave you chances, over and over. Every time you insulted Rachel, I waited to see if you'd apologize on your own, if you'd show any empathy, any awareness that your words were hurtful. And every time you didn't, I documented it. Every time you made my sister cry and then told her she was too sensitive, I added it to the file. I needed everyone to see, our parents, our friends, your colleagues. I needed to make sure I wasn't crazy. I needed there to be no doubt, no room for you to claim you were just nervous about the wedding or that I was overreacting." She looked back at Derek, her expression hardening again. Tonight was the final test. In front of 50 people, including your boss, by the way. You just publicly humiliated my sister at my rehearsal dinner. You did it with confidence, with cruelty, with absolute certainty that I'd let you get away with it. Because you thought I was completely under your control. You thought I'd chosen you over her. Claire removed her engagement ring. I can't choose you, Derek. Not when you were so cruel to one of the best, most gentle and caring people I know, my sister. I finally, with no doubt, have figured it out. You're a narcissist, a bully, and a manipulator. Underneath the charm and the expensive suits, you're just a small, insecure man who feels better by making others feel worse. Now not only I see it, but everyone here can too. She set the ring on the table. The wedding is canceled. I'll contact the venue and the vendors. The deposits are non-refundable, but I'd rather lose the money than marry you. You need to leave now. The room was in absolute shock. Derek's face cycled through several emotions: confusion, anger, desperation. Claire, come on, you're overreacting. This is cold feet. This is me taking back my life, Claire said firmly. Security? 2 men in suits, I realized they were from the venue's security staff, appeared from the sides of the room. Mr. Morrison is leaving, Claire said. Please escort him out. Claire. Derek's voice rose, desperate now. You can't do this. We're getting married in 2 days. Everyone's coming. The ceremony... There is no ceremony, Claire said, her voice like ice. There is no wedding. There is just you leaving my rehearsal dinner so that my family and I can salvage what's left of this evening. Derek looked around the room, searching for support. His groomsmen stared at their plates. His parents looked mortified. No one was coming to his defense. Rachel, tell her. Tell her I was just joking. You know I didn't mean anything. Leave, I said quietly. Just leave. I believe my daughters have told you to leave. My dad stood up. As security escorted a protesting Derek out of the restaurant, the room remained in stunned silence. I stood frozen by the door, trying to process what had just happened. Claire walked over to me, and for the first time in months, I saw my real sister. Not the woman who'd been defending Derek, but the sister I'd known my entire life. I'm sorry, she said, her voice breaking. Rachel, I'm so sorry. Why? The word came out as almost a whisper. Why didn't you just tell me you were seeing it too? Why did you let me think you'd abandoned me? Claire's face crumpled. Because if you'd known what I was doing, you might have acted differently around him. You might have confronted him more directly, or stopped attending events, or done something that would have made him more careful. I needed him to feel completely safe. I needed him to believe I was totally on his side, that I'd never stand up to him. But I know what you thought. I know you thought I'd chosen you over you, and I'm sorry. I'm so deeply, painfully sorry that I made you feel that way. But Rachel, I couldn't risk it. If I'd defended you publicly, he would have love-bombed me, apologized, been on his best behavior for a while, and I would have convinced myself I was overreacting, like happened before. I would believe he was changing, that he deserved another chance. She took my hands in hers. I've been in therapy for 4 months, since I started realizing what was happening. My therapist helped me understand that I was in an emotionally abusive relationship, but that I was too invested, too afraid of the embarrassment of calling off the wedding, too worried about disappointing everyone to get out without an ironclad reason. So we made a plan. I'd document everything. I'd give him enough rope to hang himself, and I'd wait for him to show his true colors in a way no one could deny. Tonight, I said, understanding dawning. Tonight, in front of everyone who matters, in front of his boss, his colleagues, our families. Now there's no going back. No one can say I'm overreacting, or that he's not really that bad, or that I should give him another chance.
Everyone saw it. Around us, people were starting to stand, starting to approach. Our mother reached us first, wrapping both of us in a hug. "I'm so proud of you," to Claire. "And I'm so sorry, Rachel. We should have seen it. We should have protected you."
Our father was next, his face serious. "That man is never welcome in this family again. Claire, you did the right thing. Rachel, we love you. We're sorry we didn't see what was happening." The rest of the evening became something surreal and almost beautiful. The guests who'd come to celebrate a wedding instead celebrated something else. A woman who'd found the strength to leave a toxic relationship. Sisters whose bond had been tested and proved unbreakable. Claire's maid of honor, her law school friend Jessica, organized the impromptu celebration. "We're already here, we already have an open bar, and we already paid for dinner. So let's make this a party for Claire's freedom and Rachel's vindication." Someone changed the playlist. The formal rehearsal dinner became something looser, warmer. People came up to me all night to apologize for laughing at Derek's jokes, for not speaking up, for not seeing what was happening. And Claire stayed by my side for hours, holding my hand. "I started noticing things about 6 months in," she told me as we sat together at a quiet table after most guests had left. "The way he'd tell me what to wear, then claim he was just offering fashion advice. The way he'd criticize my friends, then say he was just worried they were taking advantage of me. The way he'd make plans without consulting me, then get angry if I had conflicts. Why didn't you just leave? Because I was embarrassed, because everyone loved him, because I'd spent my whole life being the perfect daughter, the successful one, and I couldn't handle the idea of admitting I'd made such a bad choice. Because he was good at making me feel like I was the problem, like I was too sensitive or too demanding." She wiped her eyes. "But when he started targeting you, when I saw him doing to you what he'd been doing to me, but more overtly, it woke something up in me. I started really seeing him, and once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. But I also couldn't just leave. I needed everyone else to see it too. I needed to not be the crazy ex-fiancé who called off her wedding for no reason. I needed people to understand. So you built a case against him." "I built a case against him, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that meant you had to suffer for months while I gathered evidence. But Rachel, I couldn't risk losing you forever to this man. If I'd married him, he would have eventually succeeded in driving us apart. He would have isolated me from everyone I loved. I had to do this right. I had to do it in a way that ensured I could truly break free." I understood, even though part of me wished she'd just told me, but I also understood the complexity of leaving an abusive relationship, the way victims often need undeniable proof, for themselves as much as for others, before they can finally walk away. "The phone recordings, were those legal?" Claire smiled grimly. "Massachusetts is a two-party consent state, so no, I couldn't use them in court, but I can use them to show our friends and family. I can use them to make sure everyone understands why I'm ending this, and I can use them to protect myself if Derek tries to retaliate or smear my reputation." "Will he?" "Probably. Men like Derek don't take rejection well, but I'm prepared. If he tries to claim I'm unstable or that I'm making things up, I have witnesses. I have evidence. I have a clear pattern of behavior." She squeezed my hand. "I have you, and that's all that really matters." The week after the canceled wedding was chaotic. Derek did try to spin the story, telling his friends and colleagues that Claire had had a breakdown and sabotaged her own wedding, but too many people had been at that rehearsal dinner. Too many people had seen his true colors. His boss, who'd been in attendance, called Claire to apologize and mentioned that Derek was being counseled about his behavior. Claire threw herself into damage control, notifying vendors, dealing with returns, handling the social fallout. I took a week off work to help her. We spent long days together, sorting through wedding gifts and dealing with logistics, but also talking in a way we hadn't in years. "I missed you," I told her one afternoon as we were boxing up wedding favors to donate to a charity. "Even when you were right there, I missed you. It felt like Derek had taken my sister away." "He almost did," Claire admitted. "That's the scary thing about emotional dependency. It's so gradual. You don't realize how much of yourself you've given away until you're barely recognizable. I look back at the past year and I don't even recognize the woman I was becoming. The woman who let her fiancé mock her sister and said nothing. 2 months after the canceled wedding, Claire and I were having dinner at our favorite restaurant from childhood, a little Italian place in our hometown where we'd celebrated every birthday and milestone growing up. "I have something to tell you," Claire said, looking nervous in a way that immediately made me worried. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Actually, something's right. But I don't want you to feel obligated or pressured." "Claire, just tell me." She took a deep breath. "I've been thinking about what I want to do with my life, about what matters, and I realized that spending 80 hours a week defending corporations in litigation isn't it. So I gave notice at my firm." "You quit?" "I quit, and I'm starting something new. A small practice focusing on family law and helping people leave abusive relationships. People like me, who need legal support to safely extricate themselves from toxic situations." "That's amazing," I said, genuinely proud. "There's more. I want you to be my partner." "I'm not a lawyer, Claire." "No, but you're a teacher. You're incredible with people, especially people who are vulnerable. And you tried to start your own business once. You have entrepreneurial instincts. I want to build something where I handle the legal side and you handle the client services side, helping people navigate the emotional and practical aspects of leaving abusive situations, connecting them with therapists, helping them with safety planning, providing support through the legal process." I stared at my sister, overwhelmed. "You're serious?" "Completely serious. I managed to get some of the wedding deposits back. I'm using the money as seed funding. I've already started the LLC paperwork. The office space I'm looking at has room for both of us. And Rachel, there's no one I'd rather do this with. You've been through this journey with me. You understand what it's like to be the target of someone's cruelty. You have empathy that I sometimes lack. We'd be an incredible team." "I have a job, a contract with the school." "I know, and I'm not asking you to quit tomorrow, but your contract ends in June. That gives us 4 months to plan, to build, to get ready. Think about it. Talk to your therapist. Talk to your friends. But Rachel, I'm building something new, and I want you to be part of it." I did think about it. I talked to everyone, and 3 weeks later, I told Claire yes. 6 months later, Perry & Perry Family Law and Support Services opened in a modest office in Manhattan. Claire handled the legal work, divorces, custody battles, restraining orders. I handled everything else. Intake interviews, safety planning, resource coordination, emotional support through the legal process. We weren't getting rich, but we were making enough to pay our bills. More importantly, we were helping people. Every client who walked through our door was someone in pain, someone trapped, someone who needed help escaping a situation they'd been unable to leave alone. "You saved me," one client told me during her final appointment, after her divorce was finalized and she was starting a new life with her children in a safe home. "Both of you. I don't think I would have made it through this without you." "You saved yourself," I told her. "You made the hardest decision of your life. We just walked beside you while you did it." That evening, after the client left, Claire and I were closing up the office. It was late, we were exhausted, but we were happy in a way neither of us had been in years. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked. "The wedding that didn't happen, the life you planned?" Claire thought about it. "I regret the time I wasted. I regret that I let myself get so deep into something toxic. But the wedding itself? Not for a second. That wasn't the life I wanted. It was just the life I thought I was supposed to want. And this?" I gestured around our small office. "This is real. This matters. And I'm doing it with my best friend." She smiled at me. My sister. The person who taught me what real strength looks like. Not the perfect on-paper strength of being a top law student, but the actual strength of surviving someone's cruelty with your kindness intact. "I'm not that strong," I protested. You're the strongest person I know. You let me hurt you for months because you thought it would make me happy. And when you finally saw me stand up to Derek, you forgave me immediately. You didn't hold a grudge, you didn't make me grovel, you just forgave, and we moved forward. That's incredible strength. As we walked to the subway together, I thought about that rehearsal dinner a year ago, the humiliation I'd felt, the heartbreak of thinking my sister had abandoned me. It had been the worst night of my life, and in a strange way, the best, because it was the night everything broke open, the night we both got free, the night we chose each other over everything else. The night I learned that sometimes the people who love us most have to hurt us temporarily to save us permanently. And the night my sister showed me that perfect doesn't mean successful or accomplished or living up to everyone's expectations. Perfect means being brave enough to walk away from what's wrong, even when it costs you everything you thought you wanted. That's the sister I'd always had. I'd just lost sight of her for a while. But she'd never actually left. She'd just been gathering evidence, building a case, and waiting for the perfect moment to show everyone, including herself, that she was strong enough to choose what was right over what was easy. And in the end, we both won. Not the wedding, not the perfect life everyone expected, but something better: freedom, truth, and each other. What did you think of Clara's strategy to document Derek's behavior before leaving him? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story about sisterhood, escaping toxic relationships, and standing up to bullies touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe for more meaningful stories every day. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss our next